Hello everyone, and welcome to my General Hospital official channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. According to Friday, May 30th General Hospital spoilers, there will be some discussion concerning a police investigation and jail time. Emma Scorpio Drake will also have to deal with some trauma, and Drew Kane may be facing a new threat. Laura Collins will visit Elizabeth Baldwin's home to talk. Liz may express some concerns if she believes Lucky Spencer has been acting strangely, because his name may be mentioned throughout this conversation. Given his reputation as a troublemaker, Rick Lansing may also come up in conversation. Laura might not believe in Rick as much as Elizabeth does, despite Elizabeth's desire to see the best in him. In the impending custody battle between Willow Corinthos and Drew, Rick is expected to play dirty, but he is also assisting Ava Jerome in blackmailing Christina Corinthos Davis. Elizabeth is unaware of the blackmail scheme, and is unaware that Lucky is hiding Christina's involvement in the collision. That being said, Liz will eventually learn the whole unpleasant story. Now that Christina and Alexis Davis are aware of the blackmail scenario, Lucky will meet with them for a strategy session. Until then, Rick and Liz were hurt when Christina accidentally destroyed Rick's car while attempting to apply the brakes on Ava's. Alexis is now being pressured by Rick and Ava to pay Cassadine money in order to remain silent. Alexis will make it plain that Christina will face jail time if the authorities do another inquiry. Fortunately, Alexis and Christina want to prevent that from happening, so they will need to find the most effective approach to keep things secret. Ava will certainly discover a startling fact when she catches up with Nina Reeves. Nina might acknowledge that she played detective to discover that Sasha Corbin's child is the child of Michael Corinthos. Naturally, Ava would caution Nina against speaking without thinking. Given that Sasha is aware of Nina's scandalous behind-the-scenes interactions with Drew, Nina must approach cautiously. Nevertheless, Nina has the option to inform Rick anonymously, or even pledge him to secrecy about what she has discovered. In one form or another, Willow's custody dispute with Michael must incorporate Nina's newly acquired knowledge. In relation to the custody dispute, Sasha will discuss it with Michael because Rick is pressuring her to testify. If Sasha continues to her false paternity tale, Michael will feel sorry and ask her for a favor, which may include lying under oath. Carly Spencer will pitch to Curtis Ashford in the interim, but he will not like it. Curtis will caution Carly about the dangers of her suggestion because things might go horribly wrong. There can be dangers if Carly tries to bring Drew back into the spotlight in a bad way. Curtis might express reservations about Carly's use of Aurora, or whatever other nefarious strategy she has in mind. According to other GH spoilers, Brooke Lynn Quartermain will become defensive about Giovanni Gio Palmieri. Lois Chirulo was previously cautioned by Brooke Lynn to avoid her son, but it appears like she will issue another warning during Friday's show. But Gio will disappear from the hut where he and Emma end up sheltering. Emma will become alarmed and begin a search as soon as she wakes up and realizes that Gio is gone. Emma might be concerned that Gio has completely left town, but it's possible he just went outside for some fresh air and time to reflect. Brooke Lynn might be forced to allow Lois to speak with Gio if he decides to confront her and receive her version of events. Stay tuned for more on what happens next, since General Hospital spoilers indicate that Gio will continue to be shocked by all of the surprising news that has been thrown at him. Mac was glad to see Jason at the PCPD so he could handle Aunt Tracy. Jason walked silently inside his interrogation room. "Oh please, this is not the time for your strong silent act. Get me out of here," she pleaded. Jason told Tracy that he would post bail after Diane spoke with the court. "Bail? The charges should be dropped. I was framed by that wretched brother of yours," Tracy said. "Drew sailed up to the boathouse on that barge of his. Then he trespassed on our property and he planted that, whatever it was, in my car." Tracy became even more upset as Jason simply gazed at her. She questioned, "Why are you giving me the dead eye?" Jason's response, "I was just thinking, maybe it wasn't a good idea to team up with Drew," silenced Tracy for a full 30 seconds before she told Jason she had no regrets. After a short while, Mac entered and informed Tracy that Diane had done her magic and she may leave. At that moment, Jason got an enigmatic phone call. He picked up the phone and asked the individual what he needed done. Jason informed Tracy that he had more important things to accomplish, so she needed to find another ride. From her home, Elizabeth watched the ball. She shut off the television after witnessing Joe's public outburst of rage, saying, "Well, that was intense." Lucas immediately entered the room wearing a tux and holding a bottle of champagne. Since the top nurse reportedly cannot sit in a ballroom using a wheelchair or crutches, he assumed he would simply bring Liz to the nurse's ball. While Lucky was out on a lengthy errand, Liz put on the paper tiara Lucas had brought and poured her some champagne. They recalled the 10-year-old ball where Carly informed everyone that Hayden was a fake and not actually married to Jake Doe, also known as Drew Kane, while Brad proposed to Lucas and Rick proposed to Liz. Lucy attempted to quiet the crowd as Gio lost it and revealed that Brooklyn and Dante were the parents who had given him away. Emma then pursued Gio. She smiled uncomfortably and said, "Didn't I tell you guys that anything can happen at the nurse's ball?" Chase nodded to his wife while remaining on stage. Brooklyn stood up and hurried out the ballroom after her mother. "What the hell is Gio talking about?" Dante murmured to Lulu while Lucy was babbling, and Cody came over and drew him aside to speak. To answer some questions, Cody led Dante into a dressing room. Dante was shocked and wondered how Cody knew. "I know this is a lot to take in. I don't know the whole story, but I know one thing for sure. Brooklyn had your baby," he said. "I've known about the pregnancy since that summer. That's why Brooklyn left Camp Martha early. She was pregnant," Cody said. Cody claimed that Brooklyn had sworn him to silence, but Dante was furious that Cody had never told him. "Then, when I didn't hear any more about it, I assumed that she terminated the pregnancy," stated Cody. Dante exclaimed, "And that baby is Gio. Gio Palmieri is my son," before he almost started crying. "So, that little kid that I used to see lighting sparklers on the 4th of July block party, that was my boy? Did Brooklyn know?" said the man. Ned, Lois, and Sonny also went. Carly stopped Lulu as she attempted to follow. She remarked, "Lulu, don't. You've done enough." Lulu threw a fit as Carly led her into the ladies' room. Lulu clarified that Gio most likely overheard her confronting Lois. She wanted to locate Dante, but Carly wouldn't let it. Dante needs to hear the truth, but he needs to hear it from the people who were actually involved. That is Lois and Brooklyn, not you. You need to calm down because for better or worse, you're the one who set this whole train in motion. You need to get off the track before you get leveled," Carly said prior to seeing Joss and Trina act. Olivia, gasping for air, caught up to Sonny in the lobby. "Could this be true? Is Gio our grandson?" she inquired. Sonny appeared equally astounded. Sonny asked, "Did you know anything about Brooklyn having a baby?" "I'm embarrassed to say I did not," Ned answered. Olivia started asking Chase questions when he showed up. "Brooklyn had a baby? Is it true or is it not?" she inquired. Olivia sought additional information, but Chase informed her that this wasn't his story to share, and that she needed to speak with Brooklyn. Chase simply responded, "Yes, Brooklyn had a child when she was in high school." Ned was in shock and questioned Joe's source of information. "I don't know how Gio fits into this, but my gut is Joe's just as confused as we are," Chase stated. "Bet I know who can clear it up," Sonny suggested. Olivia knew he was referring to Lois. "I'm positive that Lois knows something," Sonny continued. Olivia was shocked that her best friend would have concealed such a thing from her. Dante approached them from behind trying to find Brooklyn. Chase attempted to follow him after he left without finding her. Chase was stopped by Sonny, who informed him that Dante and Brooklyn needed to work things out on their own. Additionally, Sonny had to prevent Olivia from pursuing Dante. "We need to go back into that ballroom, distract our minds, and let the kids do what they're gonna do," Sonny said. Sonny and Olivia left, but Ned stayed to speak with Chase. Although he was relieved that Brooklyn told Chase, he was offended that she kept it from him. "I'm her father. Did she think that she couldn't trust me with that?" asked the man. Ned's voice cracked as he continued, "I should have known, so I could have been there for my little girl." Brooklyn believed the truth would harm him, Chase informed Ned. "Is that really what Brooklyn thought or what Lois made her think?" Ned pondered. Backstage, Trina and Jocelyn contemplated whether to look for Gio, but Lucy discovered them and informed them that they needed to change because they were the next to perform. The young women sang a lovely ballad about friendship once Lucy eventually led them to the stage. Curtis, Portia, and Kai congratulated Trina after they finished their song, and then Curtis and Portia went to bed. Joss, who was concerned about Gio, was commended by Carly. Then Willow and Drew came up to them and requested a private conversation with Carly. "I want to end this terrible fight over the kids. It's not good for anyone, especially not Wiley and Amelia," Willow stated. "We just want a peaceful path moving forward. That's why we're willing to find common ground. Even you have to admit that we have the upper hand when it comes to the custody hearing," Drew said. Carly informed Drew she didn't believe that at all, grinning confidently. Drew started to accuse Carly of having delusions, but he changed his tone to one of maturity after remembering that he was supposed to be kind. Carly said to Willow, "It would be great if you could speak for yourself." Drew then reiterated Willow's statement. "We're a unit, Carly." At last Willow said a few words. "Drew and I believe we can come up with a custody arrangement that could satisfy both sides," she stated. Willow urged Carly to be practical when she proposed joint custody. She stated, "We're willing to let Michael see the kids every other weekend," without expressing any awareness of how incorrect that was. Drew responded, "plus 2 weeks in the summer," before hinting at potential plans to relocate to Washington, D.C. Furious, Carly even defended poor Scout, who would be separated from her brothers. Drew asserted that Scout only needed him and Willow as family. Carly remarked, "I'll see you in court." Before Drew could get in Carly's face, Willow fled. "The best part is if you lose Michael his kids, he's only going to have you to blame," he continued in his characteristically eerie tone. For the final number, everyone sat down in the ballroom. The children of Port Charles ascended the stage. "I'll Be There" was sung in a really cute way by Donna, James, Georgie, Wiley, and Scout. When they were finished, Wiley screamed, "Daddy!" and rushed from the platform into Michael's arms, leaving Drew and Willow speechless. "Come on, buddy. We're going home," Michael murmured after picking him up, and Willow watched in dismay as Michael and his kid departed. Emma had no idea that one night would permanently alter her life. What started off as a typical night out with friends swiftly turned into a nightmare from which she was unable to recover. The ensuing police investigation was unrelenting, and the possibility of going to jail hung over her like a threatening cloud. The truth seemed to elude her more and more every day, yet every aspect of that terrible night kept replaying in her head. It began with a party, a harmless get-together that descended into mayhem. Emma recalled the laughter, the clinking of glasses, and the loud music. Then, however, a terrible tragedy happened. Voices were raised, an altercation started, and before she knew it, things had gotten out of hand. She couldn't remember the specifics, but someone was seriously injured. The cold metal of the shackles around her wrists, the harsh voices of the officers, and the bright lights of the police cruisers all seemed unreal. As should be the case, the investigation was exhaustive. Investigators examined forensic evidence, surveillance footage, and witness accounts. Emma complied, answering all the questions, but her story got more complicated the more she talked. Had she defended herself? Was she even to blame? The facts were all that mattered to the legal system, not her anxiety or bewilderment. And the evidence presented a bleak picture. Weeks passed while she awaited trial. The cramped detention cell served as a continual reminder of the life she could lose. The other prisoners looked at her suspiciously. Some showed flimsy sympathy, while others were downright hostile. Despite hiring a lawyer, Emma's family was still facing charges that could not be resolved by the greatest defense. Assault. Could be worse. The court proceedings, legalese, objections, and tearful testimony were a fog. With a mix of grief and rage, the victims' relatives gazed at her. Emma wanted to apologize and give an explanation, but nothing could change what had happened. Her destiny would be determined by the jury's decision, and the uncertainty was debilitating. Emma's dread increased as the trial continued. Would she be imprisoned for years? Would a single dreadful error cost her future? Fairness felt like a mirage when her freedom was at stake, even though the legal system was meant to be equitable. The truth was all that counted in the end, but she discovered that truth was a delicate thing. Doubt began to creep in, memories dimmed, and witnesses contradicted one another. Did she actually do what they said she had done? Or was she just another unfortunate victim? The judge pronounced the sentence as the gavel struck. As the words reverberated throughout the courtroom, Emma's heart raced. I feel guilty. Like a physical force, the weight of those phrases slammed against her chest. Time in jail. She lost years of her life in an instant. The reality of her new life struck in as she was dragged away. According to General Hospital spoilers on Friday, May 30th, Michael Corinthos has a big request for Sasha Corbin, and Carly Spencer will proceed with a power maneuver. There will be a lot going on in Friday's thrilling event, because Christina Corinthos Davis will also be under prison warning. Lois Cerullo will attempt to patch things up with Brooklyn Quartermain at the Quartermain mansion. She will also seek an opportunity to explain the situation to Giovanni Gio Palmieri. But Lois won't be allowed near her son, according to Brooklyn. Brooklyn won't let Lois make things more difficult for Gio, because she will think that Lois is attempting to manipulate events and justify her self-centered choices. In relation to Gio, he will vanish on Emma Scorpio Drake, leaving her worried. It appears that Emma and Gio will hide out at a cabin, and when she wakes up, he will have left. If Gio is nearby to clear his thoughts, this could be a false alarm, but it's also possible that he will leave Emma for a bit. Gio might wish to be by himself, or he might furiously approach Lois to get clarification. She will discuss with Michael the possibility of Rick Lansing bringing Sasha as a witness in the impending custody dispute. Michael will need a significant favor, which might be to reassure Sasha that she won't say anything about their night together or the real paternity of her child. If Rick asks too many questions, Sasha might have to lie on the stand, but she might also say she's determined to keep this a secret and assist Michael in obtaining custody of the children. Of course, there's an issue that Sasha and Michael don't know about yet. Nina Reeves has some significant information that could hurt Michael's case because she recently discovered that Michael is the biological father of Sasha's pregnant child. When Nina gives Ava Jerome updates on Friday's GH episode, she might be reminded that it would be dangerous to tell on Sasha. Since Sasha is aware of Nina and Drew Kane's liaison, if Nina opens her lips, she may also reveal that information. At the same time, Nina just scored the ultimate ace in the hole. Can Nina truly keep this information to herself when it could be the key to Willow winning in court? While Carly is busy pitching to Curtis Ashford, Ava is giving Nina advice. Curtis will caution that Carly's request might have disastrous consequences, even though it might entail using Aurora for a smear campaign against Drew. In any case, Carly intends to use every resource at her disposal to assist Michael in obtaining complete custody of Wiley and Amelia Corinthos, even if it involves engaging in unethical behavior. Laura Collins and Elizabeth Baldwin will talk about Lucky Spencer and how his reunion with Liz is going during their catch-up. Will Elizabeth realize Lucky has been avoiding her and keeping something from her? Liz might want to think that Lucky is over that kind of behavior now, but she might still be concerned. However, given his dubious tendencies, Rick may be the one who raises the most concerns. Laura might believe she should have fewer expectations, even while Elizabeth hopes he has changed as a person. Alexis Davis will then inform Christina that her daughter will be imprisoned if the police look into it. Alexis will have a meeting with Christina and Lucky to make sure she understands the seriousness of the situation. Keep an eye out to see if Christina's involvement in the crash will finally be made public, because, according to General Hospital spoilers, her illegal acts may come back to haunt her whether she likes it or not. General Hospital spoilers for Tuesday, May 27, 2025 include Lois panics, Nina's Jason's ominous, Cody's regret, and Jason's ominous warning. Fans should anticipate that Sasha Gilmore Corbin's concerns will be allayed in tomorrow's episode. Lois Cerullo is compelled to give an explanation. In addition, Nina Reeves frantically seeks Sonny Corinthos' assistance. Cody Bell's apologies. Fans should anticipate Cody Bell to be overcome with regret on tomorrow's episode. Cody was deceived throughout his life, and it affected him negatively. Cody frequently acted out and was destructive as a result. Thus, it made sense for Cody to consent to assist Lulu Spencer in exposing the son of Brooklyn Quartermain. But neither Cody nor Lulu anticipated it being revealed in such a terrible manner. Cody will apologize when Giovanni Gio Palmieri's violin-smashing proclamation has subsided. The emotional overload of Dante Falconeri. Dante Falconeri will be experiencing emotional overload in the interim. Dante discovered that he has a grown son, and that he has known him since childhood. Additionally, Dante believes that some of the people he trusted have betrayed and deceived him. Dante will therefore have a lot to take in. The dispute between Dante and Gio is another. Dante would probably not get along with Gio even if he tried to approach him. She will also be experiencing emotional overload with BLQ. Because of her unforgivable sin, Lois will be criticized by BLQ. How Lois Cerullo describes. According to General Hospital previews for the upcoming episode, Lois will have to provide some explanations. Even though Lois may have believed she was doing morally at the time, it is now backfiring on her. Many others are also incensed in addition to Dante, Gio, and BLQ. May 27, 2025, Tuesday. Additionally, viewers will witness Nina's desperation to save Willow Tate Corinthos. Nina asks Sonny for assistance. Even though Sonny might consent to speak with Michael Corinthos, the mob boss might argue that his son has the last say. Despite Sonny's warnings not to become too attached, Carly Spencer did. For Willow and Michael, Sonny could therefore sit back and let things unfold naturally. Sasha's anxiety is reduced in the interim. But will Michael continue to conceal the fact that he is Sasha's baby's father now that he is back in Port Charles? Sasha had consistently been a rock, the type of person who took on obstacles head-on without faltering. But even she felt the earth give way under her feet as she heard the awful news. It wasn't only the revelation's shock. It was also the way it arrived, abrupt and harsh, like a hurricane ripping through a peaceful evening. She was left standing in the ruins of her own naivete after having loved madly and trusted blindly in the wake of the reality. The treachery itself was more important than the specifics. She had been duped by someone she had thought of as a friend and confidant. Breathing became difficult due to the pressure of its weight on her chest. The nights turned into never-ending cycles of reliving talks, in an attempt to find warning signs or hints that she had overlooked. However, none existed. Or none she had been prepared to witness anyway. Gio meanwhile had left. As simple as that. No notice, no justification, just a blank spot where he had been. Everyone who knew him was troubled by the mystery surrounding his disappearance. He wasn't the kind to disappear silently. He was dependable. He maintained his word, arrived early for meetings, and responded to texts within minutes. Thus, the concern turned into a full-blown fear when days went by with no sign of him. Immediately, his phone went to voicemail. It was as though he had gone out for coffee and never come back to his apartment. Friends messaged frantically, their theories growing more ludicrous by the hour. Had he been harmed? Had he gone on purpose? If so, what is the reason? The questions kept coming up, but there were no answers. Already struggling with her own personal tragedy, Sasha now had to deal with the worry that someone else she loved had been torn away. She played again the last thing she had said to Gio, looking for any sign of distress, any sign that he had been preparing to go. However, nothing had been present. He simply smiled as usual, reassuring everyone that everything was all right. Was it a lie? Or had there been an event that occurred in the interim? There was too much ambiguity. There was Carly after that. Sasha was mistaken if she believed her week couldn't get any worse. Charming, convincing, and the type of person who could convince anyone of anything if she said it with enough conviction, Carly had always been a part of their group. That attractiveness, however, had now become poisonous. Little remarks were made in discussions, whispers began to spread, and cunning hints passed off as worries. Sasha didn't notice at first. She didn't listen to the whispers around her since she was too preoccupied with her own problems. The rumors soon became more pointed and louder. Carly was fabricating a story that gave Sasha the worst possible impression. Then it became more intense, a reference to Sasha being unstable, a remark that she might have pushed Gio away with her dramatics. Carly started hinting that Sasha had a history of ruining relationships, and that she had always been jealous. The fact that people believed it so readily was the worst. Sasha soon noticed that people's perceptions of her had changed since Carly had a talent for making her lies seem like the truth. Formerly encouraging friends were now reluctant to approach her. When she walked into a room, the conversation ceased. The loneliness was debilitating. Sasha made every effort to protect herself, but it was futile. Each denial was construed as additional evidence of her alleged guilt. Carly's campaign was unrelenting and a deliberate attempt to destroy Sasha's reputation one element at a time. Furthermore, Gio was no longer there to refute the story. Carly's tactics had always been exposed by him, and he had the ability to silence her with a single scathing comment. Sasha was outmatched without him. The days merged into a mist of restless nights and tense encounters. Sasha felt as though she was sinking under the weight of everything that had transpired and losing herself. It was too much, the smear campaign, the absence, the treachery. Although she had always taken pleasure in her strength, she wasn't sure if she still had it. She believed that things couldn't get any worse, but then a new piece of information came to light. Unverified but scary in its implications, there was a report that someone saw Gio the night he vanished. He hadn't been by himself either. The essential idea of the story, that Gio had been fighting with someone, was constant, even though the specifics varied depending on who told it. Tension was strong and voices were shouted. Then nothing. After that, nobody knew for sure what had transpired. Had he voluntarily left? Had anything darker happened? The ambiguity was frustrating. The ideas that swarmed through Sasha's head were all worse than the last. Why hadn't Gio called for assistance if he had been in difficulties that evening? Why hadn't someone stepped in? And with whom had he been in dispute? Without answers, the questions just fueled her mounting paranoia. Naturally, Carly had her own account of what happened. She muttered that Sasha and Gio had always had a tense friendship, and that Sasha had been the one fighting with Gio that evening. Although it was a lie, it spread swiftly. All of a sudden, the tone of the slander campaign darkened. People's perceptions of Sasha changed, becoming fearful as well as suspicious. The burden of everything was oppressive. Sasha felt she had to do something, but what? She was helpless to stop the rumor without evidence or Gio. She thought about going straight after Carly, but that would just make things worse. Carly would manipulate it, making it appear as though the unstable Sasha was having another outburst. So she waited. She observed. She looked for any hint, any tidbit of knowledge that would help her understand the chaos that had become her existence. Then when she was starting to give up, she discovered something. One piece of proof that made all the difference. Small and easily missed, the message was sent the night Gio vanished and was buried in her inbox. Meet me at the usual place. I found something. Be careful who you trust. That was the only line she had ever noticed in her bewilderment and sadness. She gasped. This was sent by Gio. Did he have learned something about Carly if he had been cautioning her about trust? Had he disappeared for that reason? Although the parts were coming together, the image they created was more hazardous than she had anticipated. Sasha was playing with fire by going further if Carly had anything to do with Joe's disappearance. But there was nothing she could do. She had to discover the truth, no matter the cost, for Joe's and her own sake. The next few days would be dangerous. Carly had a lot of power, and the smear campaign would get much worse if she thought Sasha was spying on her. However, Sasha had had enough of being a victim. Carly remembered the awful news, the disappearance, and the falsehoods. Sasha was prepared to defend herself. The storm had not passed. Indeed, it was just getting started. Lois panics, Nina fears, Cody regrets, and Jason issues a dire warning. Tension permeated the air as Jason stood in the darkened room, staring at Cody with his sharp eyes. The faint buzz of the above light flickering menacingly was the only sound to break the deadly quiet between them. When Jason finally spoke, his voice was low and menacing. "You ought to have paid attention," he remarked, his words brimming with implicit danger. "Now there's no going back." Cody gulped hard, the weight of his decision slamming down on him in that instant. All he felt now was regret. Previously, he had been so sure of himself, so sure that he could outmaneuver Jason. It tightened with each second as it coiled like a serpent in his stomach. He was now paying the price for underestimating Jason. Nina was sitting by herself in her apartment across town, her hands shaking as she gripped her phone. A telegram that sent shivers down her spine had just arrived. Even though Jason didn't say much, it was obvious what he meant. He was aware. He was well informed. As Nina struggled to regain her composure, her breath came in quick, terrified gasps. How was he aware of it? She believed that she had been extremely cautious. The shadows in the room's corner seemed to extend and twist into something far more terrible, and the walls looked to be closing in on her. Jason had always been dangerous, but this time it was different. It was a personal matter. Lois's mind was running a mile a minute as she paced wildly around the kitchen. Cody had just talked to her, and it was clear that he was afraid. She had a terrible sensation that Jason was at the core of something that was going horribly wrong. As she poured herself a glass of water, her hands trembled and the liquid spilled over the rim. Cody had been cautioned by her to avoid Jason, and to avoid becoming embroiled in his game.